All right, guys, it's time to read your story. So go ahead and open your readers. Okay, we're going to open up to page 208 and we're going to read through to 231. The story this week is Serious Farm. Farmer Fred never smiled much. He wasn't a sad fellow, just very serious. Farming is serious business, he'd say. Nothing funny about corn. Now, because it was Farmer Fred's farm, all the animals acted the way he did, so they were very serious too. When he would say, "There's no humor in tomatoes," they'd all agree. The pigs, the cows, the horses, the chickens, the rabbits, the sheep, all extremely serious. One night, Edna the cow said, "We've got to get Farmer Fred to laugh. I mean, it's okay to be serious, but not all the time. We need some laughter." "Must admit," said Bernie the goat, "I wouldn't mind smiling again." He stretched his mouth and showed all of his teeth. It wasn't a very convincing smile. They all decided they needed a plan to make the farm more fun. The next morning, as the sun came up, Edna was standing at the fence where Cormac, the rooster, usually stood. Where's my rooster? Cock-a-doodle-doo! She was barely able to keep her balance. She tried to yell, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" But since she was a cow, it didn't come out like that at all. It was the first time anyone had done anything funny in months. So it made all the animals laugh. Farmer Fred just looked out the window and said, "You're not a rooster," and shut the window and went back to sleep. "Wow," said Edna, "this is going to be tougher than I thought." That morning was serious as usual, with Farmer Fred saying things like, "Broccoli isn't no fun," and "I never laugh at bell peppers." "Okay," said Edna to the others, "let's try another idea." When Farmer Fred went to feed the pigs that afternoon, they started barking like dogs. Oh, that's kind of silly, huh? Everyone thought it was hilarious, except Farmer Fred. That's more weird than funny," he said as he walked away. "All right," said Edna, "this isn't working. Let's try something new." They sneaked into the house and took some clothes from Farmer Fred's closet and put them on. It wasn't as easy as it sounds. That evening, as the moon lit up the field, Bernie rang the doorbell. Farmer Fred came out onto the porch and said, "What in the world?" The animals were all dancing around in Farmer Fred's clothes. They were terrible dancers, which actually made it funnier. But Farmer Fred just said, "Better not get my clothes dirty." He walked back inside without a smile. The next 2 weeks, the animals tried everything they could think of to make Farmer Fred smile a little, but nothing worked. It got so very discouraging. One night, the animals met in the barn. "Well, I don't know about you," said Edna, "but I can't take it anymore. I have to live somewhere more fun than this. I'm leaving." They all agreed with Edna and packed up their stuff, which wasn't much, and headed out into the night. The next morning, there was no sound of a rooster or even a cow. Farmer Fred looked outside and saw that all the animals were gone. "Oh no," he said, "all the animals are gone." Farmer Fred became very sad immediately. Now, it was one thing to be serious, but it was another thing to be sad. Farmer Fred didn't like the feeling at all. He got into his truck and drove down the road in search of his friends. He went about 4 miles, but there was no sign of them anywhere. Then he heard some laughing in the distance. He followed the sound and saw the animals walking through the woods. He got out of his truck, walked into the forest, and asked, "What's going on here?" "We couldn't stand it," said Edna. We tried to cheer you up, but nothing worked, so we're running away." Well, walking away. The other animals nodded in agreement. "Well, that's no way to solve a problem," said Farmer Fred. "You don't just leave. I mean, sure, I'm serious, but that doesn't mean you have to be. And besides, we're family. I take care of you. I need you. Not to mention that you're safe on the farm. You probably would be eaten by lions in a day or two out here in the woods." Do you guys think there's lions in the woods? The animals thought about this for a moment. As they whispered to one another about the lion issue, Farmer Fred mumbled, "Cows and chickens running wild in the woods. He, he, he." Edna turned quickly and said, "What was that?" "I think he laughed a little," said Bernie. "Yes," said a chicken. "I heard it. It wasn't much, but he did laugh." "Well," said Edna, "in that case, you're witty enough for us, Farmer Fred, and we care about you too. I guess we can go back to the farm." The other animals nodded their heads and said things like, "I agree, good idea," and "let's go back." They hopped onto the truck and Farmer Fred drove them home. From that day forward, they were able to make Farmer Fred laugh a little more, especially by bringing up the idea of cows and chickens running wild, although he still doesn't see anything funny about corn. Tim Egan is our author today, and as you turn the page, you'll see a picture of him. It gives a little bit about him. It says Tim Egan and other jobs before he began writing children's book. But when he wasn't at work, he was always drawing pictures of pigs, ducks, and strange characters. His wife told him that he should write a children's book. It sounded like fun, so he decided to try it. He has been writing and illustrating children's books ever since. So, Serious Farm is our story. Now you're going to go ahead and pull out this page right here, guys, about Serious Farm. So pull that out right now. No, just go. Turn the next page. You can tell me what they're doing next. I'll do it.
Okay, so now you're going to fill out your worksheet or the paper you have of the Serious Farm. And when you do that, you're going to think about what is the setting of the story. Where did the story take place? You want to really think about that. Did it take place on the moon? Did it take place on the beach? Where did this story actually take place? The next thing you want to look at is when and where the story took place. That's important. We want to know where that happened at, okay? Who were the characters in the story? This has been something we've been looking at. We talked about that when you guys did your snowman story, that we want to talk about who the characters are in the story. And in our story, there's a problem. What is the problem that's going on in the story? Turn around and ask your mom and dad or who's ever with you, do they know what the problem is in the story? And also, we've always been talking about what is the genre of the story? Is it a biography? Is it a realistic fiction? Is it fiction? What kind of genre is this? Okay, so we want to think about that. Now, I want you to go ahead and write about 2 events that happened in this story. Remember, when we write, we need to have a full sentence, so make sure that first word is capitalized. You have punctuation at the end. Add adjectives, because that makes it exciting, and make sure there's 8 words in a sentence. Okay, so that's going to be your assignment for that. when you're done, what I'd like you to do is we're going to have this up line for you, this PowerPoint, and you're going to go ahead and go into.
This is a Kahoot app for you guys. So if you hit into this one, hit on this, and there will be about, I think there's 10 questions on the Kahoot app that you guys can go ahead and play the Kahoot game and see what you remember about the story that I just read. So go ahead, guys, spend some time now working on this page right here. Remember, the bottom part is where you're going to write your 2 sentences about the events that happen in the story. So go ahead and fill this out and color it if you want and have fun with it.